Hello students. So our next topic is view of the data. So here we will discuss about three very important terms in this lecture. First is your data abstraction, second is your instance, and third is your schema. These three terms can be asked in your short type of questions also. So that all will be covered in view of the data. So our topic is view of data. So let's start with it. Okay. View. So what is view? Basically, we are seeing something from some perspective. Okay. So our databases are basically they comprises of some complex data structures. They are collection of some data. Yes, as we discussed, they are collection of some related data. So in order to make the retrieval or fetching the data more efficient, we need uh, some type of view. That is called as we need some type of abstraction. Okay. So the technical term that is utilized for this is abstraction. Okay. So that is what is the meaning of it? I utilized one term over here. That is abstraction. Okay. So what is the use of this abstraction? Basically, we are trying to hide some irrelevant details from the users. Okay, so that is particularly the meaning. Here also in this slide, it is written that the major purpose of your database systems is to provide users with an abstract view of the data. Okay, so that is our main purpose. Abstract view means we want to hide some details that how that the data is stored and maintained. Some of the irrelevant details from the users, which is not required for them. Okay, that is the main thing. So that is called as abstract view. I hope you got some idea. Okay, what is the meaning of abstract view? Okay, so abstract view. We are giving an abstract view. So I'm highlighting some terms over here so that you can remember it. So developers hide some of the irrelevant details. So there are three levels basically, which are called as levels of abstraction, which are called as three levels of view. That also you can say, and that is very, very important. Yeah. So those we will understand through this diagram, and this diagram is also very important from your exam point of view. From the previous year's exams, we have seen that this question is being asked a lot. Okay. So here you can see there are three levels shown. So like first one is this one, external schema, which is called as view schema also. Take a view or external level. So I'll write it down here, view or external level. That is the meaning. Next one is conceptual level, which is also called as logical. Logical or conceptual schema. And third one is internal schema, which is also called as physical. Physical or internal schema. So these three types of views we have. So here what happens one by one, we will understand them. And on this slide, we will give some time. Okay, what is the meaning of it? So your we'll start from your internal level, your lowermost level, this one. Okay, here what happens? So this is your lowest level of the abstraction. I can say that. Okay, we can say that it is a lowest level of abstraction, or it is called as a lowest view in the database. So what happens over here? That some of the things which are to be stored, okay, in the database. Suppose we want to store some details of an employee. So the blocks of storage and amount of the memory utilized for these purposes will be kept in the internal view. So the thing is like the size of the memory, number of times the records are stored, and where it will be stored, whether it will be stored in the form of a tree. So basically here two terms comes, B plus trees and hashing. So they are like, you can say the data structures utilizing which we can store the data. at internal level. So here what we are doing, storage, physical schema, storage of data. Okay. And here disks are there, where in what form you are storing, that finally will go to the database disk. So these are called as some of the access methods or file organizing methods. I told you okay, how to organize your data in the form of either B plus trees or hashing. In that way, we can store our data. That is called as your internal schema. I hope you got this idea. Okay. So our next level is conceptual level. This is your conceptual level, which is also called as logical level. So here what happens, the information which is actually stored in the database in the form of relations in the way in the form of tables. Okay, that will be stored over here. Okay, that will be stored over here. So at this level, I can say that information available to the user at the view level will be unknown. Okay, we can store various types of characteristics of, you can say, take an example of employee again, as we were taking example in the internal view, like different attributes, different features of an employee and the relationships through which they're interconnected. For example, with the manager can also be stored. Okay, logical level describes the entire database in terms of smaller level of structures. Implementation of simple structure at logical level may involve some complex physical level structures, but the user of the logical level does not need to be aware of that complexity. Okay. So here what happens, whatever we are storing as information to be kept in the database will be manipulated over here, will be stored over here at this level in the form of tables, in the form of tables. Okay, so that you have to remember. Then the uppermost level is the external. This is your external. So it is also called as view level. So every user will have their own view. Only a certain part, a particular part of the actual database will be viewed by the users. Users view data in the form of some rows or columns. Tables and relationships are used to store the data. So multiple views of the same database may exist. You can take an example of some ERP in the university database or in an organization. So there what happens, manager will have their own view. Okay. Then the team leader will have their own view. What the team leader can see, that maybe the team members cannot see. What manager can see, maybe team leader cannot see. So according to some authorizations, according to the requirements, these views are provided. So here different, who is sitting at this level, at the uppermost level, who is sitting over here? Users. So they can be different types of users. On that one, we will come in detail when we will study about the structure of the database. That will be a detailed architecture of the database where you will see them. So here the users are sitting, and there are different types of users which will have, who will be having different types of views according to their authorizations, according to their requirements. So many users of the database system does not need information at all. Instead, they need just to access only some part of the database. So that type of abstraction the view level provides to simplify the interaction with the application, with the system. Okay, so that is called as 3 levels of schema. So this is the main purpose of this data abstraction is to achieve some data independence. So here one more term came, data independence. So on that one also will come again. So for now, you remember this term, data independence. So we'll see that in detail again. So here again, it will come, I think, so in this slide, it will come that, but you have to remember this term. Okay, the term is data independence. On this one will come. So that level of abstraction we see to achieve this data independence, very, 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 very important term that you have to remember from the exam point of view. Okay. So that again we'll discuss. We'll come on to this. What is data independence and what are the types of data independence? Now, before that, we have to see 2 more definitions. First definition is instance. Instance and schema. What is instance and what is schema? From your exam point of view, this these two terms have been asked in short type of questions. Okay, so we'll see them very quickly. Okay, what is the difference between schema and instance? What is the meaning of schema? What is the meaning of instance? So instance is basically, you can say, a screenshot. Okay, as we take in our mobile phones for something. What is the particular state at particular point of time of the database? So database basically they change over a period of time when we'll perform different operations on. Okay, the collection of information stored in the database at a particular moment is called as instance. Okay, so that you have to remember. Database at a particular moment is called as instance, and it is nothing but, you can say, it is a snapshot of database at a particular point of time. Okay, so one example we can take over here to understand it. The thing is like, um, suppose we are performing some transaction in bank. Okay, so it is at stage 0 that we are initiating, we are logging into the application to initiate that transaction. Then second stage comes as we debit some amount, and third stage will come as credit that account to the another account. Okay, and last stage is that transaction is completed. Suppose at stage 0 we have taken this instance, that at which particular stage database is right now. So it is at basically the debit stage. So we have taken the instance of that. Okay, so that screenshot, that snapshot will be called as instance of that database. That you have to remember. So this definition you have to remember. Next very, very important term comes as your schema. Schema. Schema is nothing but structure of the database or your entity also, you can say. So how you can understand this schema? Schema basically you can also say it is a blueprint which will outline the design and structure of the database. So I will write down over here for you. It is a blueprint of structure of database. Okay, so how you will understand it? Let's take an example of student. So student is one entity. Entity is nothing but, on that also we will discuss in detail what entities are when we'll come on to data models. But for right now, you can imagine yourself as an entity. Okay, you are a real object in the world, in the real world. Some object in the real world is called as entity. So right now I'm considering one example as student. So the student is one entity. What are the features of the student that we have to see? So student can have its ID or roll number. Okay, student will have its name, student will have its address. So they are called as attributes. They are called as features, characteristics of the student entity. So what will be the schema? If I'm writing like this, student with its attributes, okay, then it will be called as schema. This is called as schema. Okay, if there if some in some management system, if we have some 3 4 entities and we are showing them with their attributes or the characteristics, that will make the schema of the database. So these two terms you have to remember in the slide. So uh, each variable has a particular value at given instant. Values of the variable in program at a point that corresponds to the instance of the database schema. Database schema. They have database systems can have several schemas. Okay, they will be partitioned according to the levels of abstraction. So you have to remember in this lecture what is abstraction, what are different levels of abstraction. So when I'm saying these terms, you should have the answer in your mind that what are 3 levels of abstraction in database. Okay, what is instance, what is schema. So these 2 3 things you have to remember in this lecture. So let's wind up over here. In the next lecture we will first see what is data independence, and then we'll further continue with our further topics. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel. That keeps me motivated to come back again and again and continue with my channel. Thank you so much for your support. Please like, share, subscribe my channel. And comment if you have any doubts. You can ask me through your comments. I will keep all the PPTs and my notes on my GitHub. The link I will provide in the description. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching again.